Hello and welcome to My Mom's Basement, presented by 3Chi and Barstool Sports. I am your host, Robbie Fox. With me, as always, is Clem, and we are here for a Black Widow recap. This is a movie that I saw at a press screener a few weeks ago, as we discussed on the Loki recaps, and Clem saw just this past weekend, opening weekend, contributed to that massive box office number. You know, Marvel is back. You and Sienna, your daughter. What did you think of Black Widow, Clem? Everyone knows what I thought. I thought it was pretty damn good. You know, I'm not going to dislike anything Marvel. What were your thoughts?
I was like lukewarm on it. I was all right with it. It was a Marvel movie, which just felt right, man. I was in the theater. It was a vacation movie. Vacation movies hit different. When you see a movie when you're on vacation, you're not really like, you just don't have your wits about you. Everything just seems a little off instead of just being in like your go-to theater that you're always at, and then seeing it with a little girl and some of the stuff. Bob, maybe you could have been like, oh yeah, there's this scene with human trafficking in the beginning. It smells like Teen Spirit in the creepiest way possible. Might have been a good idea for the dad to.
Hey, I said it was the dopest opening credits since Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't want to spoil that. It was, fucking metal, and it was dark, and it was like a sinister, smells like Teen Spirit, like you said. But yeah, I should have warned you about that.
When you said that, I'm thinking of Baby Groot dancing around to fucking Mr. Blue Sky. It was basically the polar opposite of that scene. But that was the whole thing. It was more about the movie experience than it was actually Black Widow, if that makes sense. Because this is the first movie I've seen since Corona. This is actually our first in theater review in 2 years, or in a year and a half. Like Infamous, the Basement Boys were like, "All right, see you next week, Black Widow review, let's go," and then everything shut down. I think I had popcorn that was popped before the pandemic. It was the stalest popcorn I've had in so long. And I was like, holy shit, does it feel good to spend a ton of money on just awful, awful popcorn? And we got refills because we went to an AMC, and I was like, I'm principal alone, I'm getting my refills. And the second batch was better. So that was good. And a million previews. I don't know if this is going to be the case with all movies, or it's just, again, it's been a while since I've been in movies. I think there was at least 8 previews. And listen, I love the previews. I personally go to the movies early, so I get all my previews. Don't give me these previews where the actor's talking and it's like a commercial more than it is a preview. That is a big no-no in my book. That's breaking the trust right there. I paid my ticket for the movie. I'll live with the previews. That's part of it. Don't give me commercials. That's like if you pay for the YouTube Premium or whatever. And speaking of YouTube, subscribe down below. Like the video. Comment about whatever you want to comment about. We'll figure that out. But so my opinion of the movie experience, it was just good to be back. And
when that Marvel intro hit, did it not feel amazing?
Bob, that was exactly what I was about to say right there. Just hearing the Marvel hit, I go, it's going. I got goosebumps just thinking about it. And again, I love how it's been updated where you now get, Cap getting Mjolnir, and you get, Tony getting the Infinity Stones, all that kind of stuff. It just gives you that big game feeling. You know what that is? The Marvel intro is like hearing a Buffer Brother. And you're like, oh, it's the main event. That's exactly
it's time. They should import his voice over that. That would be amazing. I would love it. Another thing that you said that I completely agree with, the thing about the actor commercial before previews or whatever, and it extends into streaming services as well. I hit play on Goodfellas on HBO Max recently, and there was a 10-minute Martin Scorsese intro that is not skippable. It didn't say skip. I had to scroll 10 minutes into the runtime of Goodfellas to start Goodfellas.
Wow, that must be they're either trying to keep the costs down or they're just trying to bamboozle us. Basically, everything's going to be going up. I remember when cutting the cord, you get it. I only pay $20 a month for cable. Oh my god, all these streaming services going up. All the internet's going to be going up. In 10 years, we're going to be in the same bogged down world that we were with the cable companies back in the day.
We are.
And then you're going to be earning it with all those commercials that are just be part of life. Oh, that's a miserable experience. Oh, no,
that's something out of Wall-E with the screens everywhere, and then the billboards and the commercials.
Everyone's my size. We grew to Costco. Costco has just made everything is just big.
Those
boxes.
Chairs look sick though. Let's be honest.
So sick. If that's how humanity
blogger's
basically
dream.
Ends. Yes, exactly. I will say this about the macro view of the movie. It does feel like this movie would have played better if it did get released after Civil War, because
oh my god, yeah.
the whole like, and then you have Black Widow, and granted, I mean, like some of the stuff they wouldn't have known that they would have changed, and it's kind of cool. And we'll get to, I'm sure, some of the stuff that like you could see how the movie ends, and then you roll right into Infinity War. But the only thing I felt like they just referenced Civil War was the only reason that they like released it now. You know what I mean? And someone actually, I don't know if this was a question, but I saw someone comment on it, and I wanted to make note of it. I almost feel like Black Widow could have been a decent TV show if they had done like a 5 and. You know, this was if maybe the pandemic happened and then they were going about it, they might have been like, hey, let's just do this as a TV show, as a movie. And we could have really dove deep into Natasha, who had such an interesting backstory. And I feel like if they go back into it, it's just going to feel like they fucked up the first time here. And I think they kind of did. I'll be honest. I thought it was 30 minutes too long. I think they could have made it a lot tighter and a lot better. It was kind of like we said with WandaVision, except it felt even more drawn out because it was a movie.
I agree with the length. By the time they got to, and spoilers, complete spoilers all over the podcast. By the time they got to the fight in the sky where they're like free falling, I was like, all right, let's wrap it up here.
Daddy and his daughter had 2 potty breaks. 2, and that's again conditioning the body to getting back in the theater in terms of, you know, not being able to just pause it and go into the bathroom because we've been at home watching all our entertainment lately. So that was a definite twist that I had not seen coming. And I got also, you know, this like in terms of movies, I think you would say it was almost like a Captain Marvel-y movie where it's like, hey, we like the character, but it didn't really do a lot. And I think the way we talked about the trailer, we were really excited about Black Widow, right? And I thought it was because that family dynamic, and we thought with the actors that were playing her family and stuff like that, and plus her whole backstory and Budapest and all that kind of stuff, we thought we were going to get a different movie. I think that movie was there, and I was hoping maybe even if it wasn't there, they could have made it there, but through editing over the last year, since they had all this time, it was just sitting on the shelf. And I just feel like they kind of missed it. And I'll also say though, I can't really give much of a curve on this one, but every Marvel movie is going to just be weighed against Endgame and Infinity War for a few years because there haven't been this is the first Marvel Studios movie, right? Since Endgame. Because I mean, Spider-Man is technically Sony, even though Feige was
both, yeah.
Dabbling.
Other than Spider-Man, this is the first.
So, and granted, that was 2 years ago and the greatest landing that has ever been landed in the history of mankind. But if I compared it to like Iron Man 2, Thor 2, in that era of Marvel, I could be like, all right. But comparing it to this one, even with Captain Marvel in there, which, you know, in between the Infinity War and Endgame, it's like, it was a meh. It was a meh, but hey, it was on the big screen. We got the fuck out of the house and it just felt good. It was like that stale popcorn. That's what I'm going to describe this movie. Black Widow was stale popcorn. It wasn't great. It wasn't even good. But you know what? It just made me feel all right for a little while. I had some fun.
You know what? For me, I was like, one, it being a Marvel movie, I'm in. Like, being back in this world. The other thing that I acknowledged during the movie, though, in my head, I was like, this movie really has so much working against it. The fact that it's put out when it is, after Infinity War and Endgame, and even Spider-Man, like you said, these massive tentpole movies, and the fact that it's about a character, we know her fate, we know what's going to come of her. And I didn't realize until after I saw the movie and sort of really started thinking about it, this movie takes place during Civil War, which I was like, it's got to take place after Civil War, before Infinity War. But there's that scene at the end of Civil War where she goes and breaks Steve Rogers and Falcon off the raft. Yeah. So she's got to, at the end of this movie, spoilers, at the end of this movie, she's got to be on her way to the raft, right? When she dyes the hair blonde. And I also didn't realize till the end, like an idiot, that the vest that Yelena?
We're gonna fuck that up so many times.
Jesus in this Christ. The Russian names. There's a few Russian names in this movie. Drykoff, Yelena, Romanov. There's a bunch of them. We're gonna fuck a few of them up. We apologize to the Russians, except for Khabib.
Yeah, put apologies to Russians in like blinking letters right now, but not Khabib. Definitely not. I apologize to Khabib. If you want to die for Connor's sins, you could die for Connor's sins. I don't want Khabib coming to my house and breaking down my door.
McGregor, I should address, by the way. Didn't go our way, but who knows what would have happened if we got to that second round? Who knows? So that's all I'll say about that.
I'm with you, Bob. Everyone likes to say anything can happen in UFC. All it takes is just one hit, one lock, but that can't be the case for Connor. Of course it can be the case for Connor. And my guy, you have to it's tough when the fighter is on a losing streak and they're getting older. It's tough, but hey, that's your guy, right? When I start, like, my brain has slowly turned to mush over the last year. You're not ditching me. You're not being like, hey, I'm going to go do the pod with Ken Jack. You're still inviting me on. So until then, I'm going to groom Sienna up so that she can then replace me down the road. Like, maybe someone else is replacing someone else.
It's like Thanos and Gamora.
Yes, exactly. I actually this morning I put a little knife on her hand and I said, perfectly balanced as all things should be. Now hide that from your brother because he's the Nebula of the family and he will try to kill us all. So.
Before we get into our Black Widow recap, let me remind everyone our presenting sponsor is Let me remind everyone about our presenting sponsor, our friends over at 3Chi. 3Chi is the industry leader in Delta 8 vapes. I brought some 3Chi to, not just vapes, everything. I brought some 3Chi to Las Vegas with me for the fight. I had it with me all week. I absolutely love that stuff for traveling. Large loves it for traveling, like we've talked about. I think he brings the gummies with him on the planes. He said he never gets on a flight without them at this point. They've got the gummies, the cereal treats, the brownies, the cookies, the tinctures, the oils. They've got everything you could imagine at 3chi.com. If you use the promo code MMB at checkout, you'll receive 5% off your order. A lot of people ask me what I like. For the vapes, I like the Incredible Hulk, the Pineapple Express strain, the Gelato strain. For the gummies, I like the Black Raspberry gummies. They're the best, I think. And for the cookies, I did try my first 3Chi chocolate chip cookie, and that was not only delicious, but it made me feel very nice. The buzz without the paranoia, without the anxiety, it is THC, so you got to be 21 or older to purchase. Don't operate machinery with this. You got to be responsible, but 3chi.com, use the promo code MMB, 5% off your complete order.
I'm a fan of the Black Raz gummies as well. I do want to try the watermelons, though. The watermelons are a different flavor. And our boy Large, who, again, he loves, I think, the brownie. He pours it with, he likes it as just like a brownie, not even for the great feeling it gives him, which it does as well. He told me he was on a plane. He went to Vegas. You guys were both at the M Hotel, right?
The M was gorgeous, by the way. I loved it. Genuinely really liked it because it's not on the strip. It's not in the middle of everything. And I don't like being in that, oh my God, you're up in the middle of the night because there's LED lights flashing in your windows. You feel like you're in the middle of the Blade Runner city if you're on the strip or something. Being off the strip, being 20 minutes away from it at all times, and having the official Raiders hotel, so your pool is shaped like a football and there's Raiders football stuff everywhere. That we ate at the Raiders bar and tavern. I'm not even a Raiders fan. It was just cool.
I'm definitely gonna check out a Raiders game out there, and I'm gonna stay at the M Hotel. And when I won the DP whatever fucking 42 or whatever Dave's birthday was for the Bracket Busters, I was in the middle of the strip. And when I left, I just went to I think I just need to get out of the hotel for a little. And you still feel like you're in the pen there. You know what I mean? Even if you're out of your hotel, there's all the other hotels. It's so fake and whatever. And I felt enclosed. So I've never stayed. I've only been to Vegas a couple times. So next time we're doing the M, we're going to go out a little. But anyway, Large he said he covered his face, covered his mouth. He had completely sensory deprivation. And he said he had the 3Chi going. And he said songs that he they're his go-to songs. And he said he was just vibing them. I'm like, Large, you got a nice little buzz there from the 3Chi. The way he's explaining, he's it felt like the song was going on forever. It's welcome to the 3Chi side of the tracks, my friend. But I do think that gets me to this point. I do want to see Black Widow on the 3Chi now, and we kind of see how everything changes, because there were some pretty cool things with the Taskmaster with the targeting computer and shit like that I feel like as you're watching the first time and on the big screen and everything's going on, you don't get. It may get and then you obviously will go into the Easter eggs, all that kind of stuff. You watch it again, you get some 3Chi in you, could have some fun. So, and again, Disney Plus, $30. You ain't going to get me on the $30. When you guys remove that paywall, that's when I'll get the 3Chi and we'll go watching the Casa de Clem again as a family.
You know what? I mentioned I haven't seen it since the press screening. I think they're going to get me on the $30, especially after we talk about it on this podcast. I'm going to be like, God damn, I want to watch that movie again. Let's talk about it. So as I talk about this and go through it, I'm going to be referencing the Wikipedia plot summary, because I normally take notes on Disney Plus or whatever. Because I only saw it in the movie theater, I'm going to reference that. So if you want to follow along, you could go on the Black Widow Wikipedia page, go to the plot summary, and we'll start here in 1995 in Ohio. And we see that Natasha Romanoff's parents, quote unquote parents, are actually super soldier Alexei. Here's the first Russian name that I'm going to fuck up. Shostakov. Is that how you say it? Alexei Shostakov.
I'm sure as hell not going to correct you, Bob. That's the best thing is you're not dealing with like another Russian on the other end of this. So you're good with me. You're going to get. We have the Oshkosh people who have been nothing but delightful in our DMs. You might get some angry Russians in the DMs if you mess these up. So I'm just warning you now.
And Melina Vostokov. I'm gonna go. We're just gonna go with Alexei and Melina from here on out.
I think that works.
Red Guardian. I'll say. We meet the parents. We meet this nuclear family setup, but it's not real. As soon as Alexei gets home, Hopper from Stranger Things, David Harbour. As soon as he gets home, he's like, "We gotta go. It's time." And he's like, "Girls, remember that day I told you about this trip we were going on? Today's that day. Let's go on that trip." And apparently the mission to steal the SHIELD intel was complete at that point. The family escapes to Cuba. They have this huge action sequence in the beginning of the movie where Melina's flying the plane. David Harbour's on the fucking wing shooting a gun at cops. The kids are in the plane like, oh my God, what is happening? They actually get off. They land in Cuba. They meet General Drykoff. And we meet General Drykoff for the first time. This is the movie's big bad villain. The emperor of the movie, I guess, not like the villain, but like the puppet master. Natasha and Yelena are taken to the Red Room for training, and their mother is pretty much presumed dead at this point. And it doesn't even seem like Alexei cares. He's kind of fucking like, yep, we got the SHIELD intel. All right, take her. All right, take the kids. Yep, whatever. And he sends the kids off. Was Sienna afraid about this? Because that's what I was worried about after I told you, like, yeah, it'll be fine for your 6-7-year-old daughter. How old is Sienna at this point? 6, 7?
6.5. Yep. 6. And she'll tell you 6.5 too. You call her 6, you'll get clawed in the face.
But as soon as I told you, like, yeah, it's fine for her, I was like, oh, the movie fucking starts with like a little girl getting abducted. Damn.
Yeah, Bob, that one was a tough one too. It was a lot going on, and it's kids her age, and she sees all this, and there was again, it was a lot of the stuff was early in the movie. It was like the first time we've been in theater in 2 years, and we're all fired up and all the kind of things. It was just like, well, but I did ask her, and I was like, "You're right?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm fine." So all things were good there. As I was leaving the theater and I was kind of digesting the movie and being like, I'm kind of disappointed. I was like, I think I enjoyed the opening sequence the most because I thought the movie I was getting the whole time. A little bit of that Russian U.S. Cold War vibes, which, by the way, I like. Even though I knew that they were Russians and probably against us, I didn't like have any beef. I was like, oh, like I was rooting for them to escape. Then I saw SHIELD and I'm like, I probably shouldn't be rooting for SHIELD guys to get agents to get killed and bad things to happen to them. And then when I saw Cuba, I was like, fuck you guys. You guys are helping. You're down in Cuba right now. And I also, my dumb brain, I forgot it was 85. I'm like, wait, are we dealing Cuban Missile Crisis right now? Because if these guys are responsible, and then I was like, oh yeah, you idiot, this is the 80s. But as someone that grew up in the 80s and just like I like the vibe. The Miss American Pie, I thought it was a little weird that like they were singing that song. I'm like, yeah, like bye bye Miss American Pie as they're leaving America. I was like, we could have probably went with another song that would have been just as good that didn't like spell out like bye bye Miss American Pie, right?
I really thought the entire movie that song was going to spell out the death of David Harbour. I was like, oh no, he's going to do this. It'll be the day that I die in a dramatic scene and then fucking go off and die. And then that's how they'll remember him. And then he just didn't die. So, like, I'm happy about it because he was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Him and Yelena. There we go. I said it that way.
Mischief.
Yeah, they were my favorite part. Both of those people. So I'm glad we'll see more of them in the future. We do cut years forward to Yelena at this point, and she is chasing a rogue Black Widow who, like, puts some fucking gas in her face, this red gas at the last moment where she catches her, and not before she stabs her, by the way. And it releases her from like mind control, this serum that was in the gas form, I guess. And she realizes what she's done at this point. She's like, oh my God. You kind of pick up on it pretty quickly. Like, oh fuck, Black Widows are all under mind control from the Red Room. Okay. And that is the start of the movie. We see that Natasha is on the run from, what's his name? Agent Ross.
Oh, yeah, Agent Ross. Yep.
She's on the run from Agent Ross. She kind of makes a life for herself in Norway. She's got this friend who supplies her with like supplies, Mason. That's a part where I think it definitely would have been better as a show. You don't really get a ton of Mason. He seemed like a likable character. I thought in the first scene with him, like, oh, we're gonna like this guy. And then you really you got like maybe 5 minutes of him in the whole movie. If we got a TV show, he might become a new like Herb.
That dude has it. That guy has it. As soon as I saw him, I was like, I like this guy. I feel like he's going to come through. He's just a good, and like the kind of even the role he plays is like the perfect kind of role. He's an eighth man off the bench, but he's fucking in the rotation. He's getting 15 minutes a game, and he makes buckets. He gets hot in a playoff game. He might do something great. That's that kind of guy. And yeah, we didn't get enough of him, and he came through every fucking time to varying degrees, which I also appreciated as well.
Yeah.
So the red in the eyes, I got a little bit of Scarlet Witch vibes, right?
Yep.
I think that's going to just be every time someone's eyes change a different color, you're going to get Scarlet Witch for a little, especially that red. And again, it's hard to explain. I'm not a fan of James Bond and Bourne action scenes. I've just never been. That's not my thing. But I do like. I like a lot of the things about Bond. I like the consistencies. I like the different like niches with the villains. I love the gadgets and shit like that. So there were some cool chase scenes that I'm sure people love. They didn't do it for me. And even when the agents were when she was fighting the Widow, it didn't really do a ton. But when like the kind of the twist where she gets deprogrammed, I was like, oh, that's cool. And there was a few moments like that. That way, I like the kind of the twist that this movie took, I think were the high watermarks of the film.
You've mentioned in the past on the podcast, I remember being stunned when you were like, I'm not really an action movie guy. I was like, what? You're a diehard guy. You're like, well, yeah. I'm a diehard guy, but I'm not like a born action movie guy. So like I did expect this one to not hit all of those marks for you because it's like chasing the Jason Bourne movies. It's trying to be a Jason Bourne movie, which is just not your thing necessarily.
And what was the oh, it was there was the Bad Batch where it was kind of a chase, but it was a different version of the chase, and it was obviously a cartoon. And I like the way they did that. But so for me, there was we'll get to a couple of the other scenes that I thought could be better. For the car scenes, it's just not going to be for me. So I'm sure there's going to be people who geeked out of it. And what do people say? It was like a Bourne movie, a little bit of G.I. Joe.
I thought, a little bit of GI, especially with like the flying through the air, the over the top elements of it. We learned that years have passed, by the way, and their father is in prison at this point, the Red Guardian, who we'll meet later on in the movie. Romanoff defected to S.H.I.E.L.D. and everything. And we learned that the Budapest stuff, I don't know when this comes in the movie. I don't think it's this early, but we've heard about Budapest forever. What that was her basically saying okay to the bombing of a little girl. They had to kill Drykoff to get confirmation that he was in the building. She watched the little girl walk into the building, the hotel, go up, and she was like, yep, you could hit the bomb. Boom, explodes. And this is what's been haunting her for years in all movies. What happened in Budapest? What happened in Budapest? She basically said okay to killing a little girl. Tough.
Tough scene for a girl. Hashtag tough. We're just gonna say hashtag tough for that, Natasha, because I see it in your eyes. It's weighed on you for years. It's a tough scene, as the kids say. It's a tough scene. It was hard to watch on screen next to my daughter. I'm like, oh, so that's it. We're murdering kids now. This is yeah. And Loki says it. Drykoff's daughter. A lot of red in that ledger, right? He says it in Avengers, and that's a dark red. That one Crayola, I don't think he's even come up with a color yet for the kind of red that you have when you're killing like a 6-year-old, like 8-year-old daughter. I'm saying that as I was sitting next to a 6-year-old daughter. I said that. So some dark shit. But again, that's what I appreciate about Black Widow. She got in some deep shit and all that kind of stuff. So
I liked the shades of gray too, right? Like shit, even the good guys are doing some questionable stuff in Marvel. Like I like the complexity in that. Yeah, it's not all black and white.
And like you said, I don't know where this lands in the plot, but we finally got to Budapest. That was the one thing we were stoked about. And I just felt like we could have gotten more. I thought the tic-tac-toe games were cool. And I thought, finding out some more about that. And do we have to call it Budapest? All right, we're calling it Budapest. For Budapest. That's how the locals say. When in Budapest, we speak like Budapestians or whatever the fuck they are. So Budapest. That's all I'm saying to the rest of the pod.
All right, so this next sequence is one of my favorites in the entire movie. We get to see Yelena sent the antidote to Natasha, I think just to get it out of Budapest. And Natasha drives off because her power goes out or whatever. She goes in for gas or goes in to get a generator into town. And the Taskmaster attacks her for the first time. And this was such a dark, like the way it was shot on the bridge with the rain and the lights. It was such a cool, grounded fight scene that I was so in. And you get to see for the first time that Taskmaster is replicating what Natasha's doing. You get to see, which we knew that was, that's the whole thing about Taskmaster. But it was just cool to see. I think you saw her fighting or him,
Yeah.
her, but we saw her fighting Hawkeye a little before that. Like for a brief clip, there was like a shot of her on the screen. That was cool too. I know people are so down on Taskmaster, and I'll say this: I didn't think she was a great villain by any means. I didn't think she was any worse than like a lot of the phase 1 or phase 2 Marvel villains. I thought she was kind of in the same realm. We've kind of gotten spoiled with Thanos and some of these great villains on the Marvel TV shows at this point, Zemo. So I didn't think she was amazing. I don't think she deserves all the flack she's getting online right now. People are saying she's one of the worst comic book villains of all time. I'm like, I don't know. She had a cool look. She was like the Terminator, basically. She attacked like the Terminator. She had a little backstory with Drykoff. I didn't hate her.
So I didn't know much of Taskmaster back when I read the books, but based on everything I'm gathering about Taskmaster, pretty fucking cool villain. So like what it could have been versus what it was, there is a big gap. I understand that.
Yeah, that's another element. I know nothing about Taskmaster comic book wise, truthfully, so I don't have a connection to him like other people do. So I do acknowledge that.
Yeah, and I do like I like the little things when I think his name is Tony in the books or this is Antonia. So I like when they kind of throw the little like nod to the pages. This first scene though, I think was the high watermark for Taskmaster. I was like, oh shit, this villain's gonna be awesome. So in this scene, I was really excited. And again, I just felt like Taskmaster did fall flat. So I'm with everyone out there. But like, so if this came out right after Civil War, I don't think we would have been like, oh, well, this is just like all the other villains. At this point, we would have still been upset if Taskmaster had come out in this part of the MCU. But if you go back to phase 1 or 2, I do think there would have been like, does Marvel ever just get Marvel? That would be like the headline. Does Marvel have a villain problem? You know what? I guarantee
that definitely was a headline.
I would say that was a headline a million fucking times because I saw those headlines. So she would have fit in with all the other villains, but it doesn't make like I'm not happy about it. But it's like I can't. And again, Drykoff was just very much blah. You know what I mean? He wasn't
great, and he wasn't in the movie a lot. Me and Jeff talked about that in the office. Jeff Lowe. We were like, he really isn't in the Jeff D'Lo. Sorry,
I thought you meant the other Jeff Lowe, the one no one knows about. He's a bad motherfucker.
The Tiger King guy. We get another great scene following this where Natasha goes off to Budapest and she reunites with her sister. They do that thing that we've seen in the trailers for like 2 years at this point where they point the guns at each other. They're not trusting of each other for a second. They eventually do trust each other when she's like, I sent you the fucking antidotes to get him out of here. Why did you bring him back here? It's like, why do you want to go back to Jakku? And Yelena and Natasha have to escape when the Widows and Taskmaster arrive and come to attack. The Taskmaster drives a fucking sick car. I'll say that. When it was driving down the street, like just wrecking cars out of its own way, I was like, all right, that's scary. That's genuinely terrifying.
Was that a tank? Or was that
I think it kind of was. Yeah, I think it was like a tank truck, but it was super fast.
Because the BMW they drove as well was cool too. And again, not a car guy as well. So I guess it's another thing. Not a chase guy, also not a car guy. And I do believe those two are probably like, there's probably people who like jerk off to like the Aston Martins that James Bond drives. Like, I don't know what any of that shit means. So the other day I was like, is that a Bentley logo? And it was Mini Cooper. I'm like, oh, okay. I don't know anything about cars because that's like a $1 billion difference, right? So again, like Taskmaster started off so good, and I'm like, hey, if this keeps going, we're gonna get a really cool scene at the end. So I did think she started hot, or at least not terrible, and went from there. Again, the other thing is like when you have multiple widows. I just don't know if these two widows were supposed to be like that much better than everyone else, but it just seemed like every time the widows were not that impressive. I'll just say that for the most part.
They were kind of like fodder villains. Yeah, there was not much special about them, and you could have definitely dove more into what makes them special.
They were fembots. They were basically fembots. They were like foot soldiers. Like I don't need to see disposable widows. Like if that's the thing. Like later on in the movie when he's showing all those widows around the world, I'm like, oh, those are a bunch of people that can die easily. Basically, they're a bunch of stormtroopers.
It's a fair point. Yeah. It's a fair point. So Romanov and her sister now go to break her father out of prison because they need to find Drykoff's location, the location of the Red Room. They figure our father used to work with him. He probably knows where it is because it's always moving. You know, they find out, okay, the Red Room's real and it still exists. Natasha knew it was real, but thought it didn't exist anymore. Thought she took it down with Drykoff. Thought he was dead. And her sister says, no way.
Can I just say something about Natasha? we're not doing any like confirmed kills. And listen, I know if like, there's an explosion or something, like they teach you that in Black Widow school.
Does she not know she lives in the Marvel universe? If you don't see the body, they're alive. And sometimes, even if you see the body, they're alive.
They're coming back. Exactly. The most alive person in the MCU is the person who just died. That's the fact that we have known, we're learning, and will continue to learn for the rest of the MCU's existence. And again, it's the writing thing, but you got to give me more than that, Natasha. You learned that at the end of freshman year of Widow School is like kill, confirm, how to confirm, A to Z. That's how you do it. So I was a little upset at her there. Again, if you had told me this was like one of her first missions or her first big mission, I'd say, all right, come on, Natasha, be better than that.
At this point, when they do the breakout scene, Natasha and her sister wear these white Black Widow outfits that are awesome. I thought those were like some of the coolest character designs in the outfit. And her father tells all the prisoners right before they break him out about his battles with Captain America. He's like bragging about himself. He's like, oh, yes, I knew Captain America back in the day. Hysterical, right? And later on, I know this is like pushing it forward a little bit, but I just want to bring up this theory because I've been sitting on it for weeks. Later on, they're like, Dad, that doesn't even line up. Like Captain America was frozen in the 80s. What are you even talking about? And we got a question about it as well from Pat Lenahan. He said, which version of Cap do you think Red Guardian was fighting in the 80s? Him asking Nat if Cap ever talked about him makes me think he was not just boasting in prison. I don't think he was boasting in prison either. Clem, I have a theory that all ties back to Loki for this one.
Oh, shit.
And I think I know where we're going to see the next appearance of David Harbour as the Red Guardian. And at least I hope. I think this all ties back to the first episode of Loki where we thought we saw Peggy Carter. And I think it was Peggy Carter. I think after Captain America went back in time in Avengers Endgame to go live out his life with Peggy Carter, the TVA came right after him. And we're like, no fucking way are you doing this, dude? And they took him and Peggy Carter. And then at some point, we'll get either a TV show or a movie. Chris Evans coming back as Captain America with Peggy Carter traveling through time. And they'll eventually wind up in the 80s, and we'll see him fight David Harbour.
All right. I'll sign up for it. I'm with you. At first I was like, oh, this is just him, boasting and bullshitting and trying to impress people. And I was actually from my seat. I'm like, actually, he was in the ice in World War II, and I don't even know who Captain America is other than like everyone should have known he was just gone from fucking like, what was it, like 60 years or whatever.
A long time, yeah.
I'll take that. I thought you were going to tell me that there was kind of another, like, I wouldn't say like they didn't have a Captain America, like the face of America, like Steve Rogers was, but kind of a low key, the asshole from
John Walker, like a U.S. agent.
Yeah, like a U.S. agent, but he was doing like they super serumed him up, and they had him do because it's a fucking Cold War. Like if there was a time we needed Captain America, it was doing some shady underbelly shit during the Cold War, and he was
an Isaiah Bradley type, like someone they were experimenting on that we didn't know about that they kept in the shadows somehow.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say it wouldn't be Isaiah Bradley himself just because he'd be like, Captain America looked a lot different when I fought him. But I do think it would be something like that for sure. So yeah, co-sign me on that. And I guess do we know his Red Guardian, like when he like became Red Guardian? I don't think they mentioned it, so I'm trying to just figure out the time, the years. But nonetheless, I do think that we will have an actual Captain America Red Guardian fight that either we see or is like alluded to that's legit. Because again, he's not a big fish guy. He's not telling you the size of the fish. He shows you the size. He's breaking fucking arms, which was gnarly.
Yeah,
some of the fucking that arm wrestling scene.
Did you like Red Guardian at least, like David Harbour? I felt like he was like so good in this.
Yeah, I enjoyed him. I got a bunch of laughs. But I had him at a very high level. So he like, I don't know if he hit it or he didn't clear it. I'd say he might have hit it maybe a little lower, but it was more some of the movie than it was him. But like every time he was just on screen, I was just smiling. I'm like, I like that guy a lot. So I was a fan.
My friend Jose Youngs, who's out in Vegas with me covering the fight, not like with me, but he works for a site called MMA Fighting, pointed out that there was a reference to Crimson Dynamo in this movie. Crimson Dynamo is the Russian Iron Man. We have Red Guardian is the Russian Captain America. This is the Russian Iron Man. Could they be setting up for Armor Wars there? Could we be pushing that forward in the future?
I didn't even think of that. I didn't know. I heard her say Crimson Dynamo, and I was like, that has to be another person because you don't fuck up the name that badly. So okay, so that makes perfect sense. Did you also notice his tattoos on his fingers? Carl on one, Mark's on the other.
No, I didn't notice that. Are you kidding me?
I was gonna say that is literally a fucking Russian out of a comic book. There you go. Red fucking Guardian. Fucking Carl and Mark.
I didn't notice that at all. That is fucking hysterical. The breakout sequence is cool, very Marvel. This was the moment where I was like, it kind of snaps you back into it where you're like, oh yeah, this is a Marvel movie. When the avalanche comes down, they have to swoop down with the helicopter. I loved all of that. And they're like, all right, where's the Red Room when they get back on the helicopter? And he's like, I don't fucking know. Ask your mom. And they are like, all right, we're going off to mom. So they go to this farm outside St. Petersburg where she developed this chemical mind control process that is used on the widows now. She's using it on pigs. She has this pig maze that she's taking them through. Kind of fucked up. I felt bad for the pigs. I was like, oh man, especially when she suffocates it on the ground. She's like, look, I can make it stop breathing by choice. That was just like upsetting.
I'll tell you, man. Alexei and Melina, I know Russians live in eternal winter, but they're some cold motherfuckers, man. I mean, when he's in the plane and they're like, they ripped our fucking insides out of us who can't reproduce, and he's like, okay, like that's fucking mother country Russia.
Oh yeah, that was pretty adult for Marvel as well.
Yeah, again, Sienna was a couple years older. There might have been some questions.
She didn't get that.
She didn't know what the fuck was going on. Thankfully, and then the pig stuff. And during the Michael Vick stuff with the dogs, I remember someone was saying how pigs, I think, are actually like maybe the closest out of animals. Like I'm sure like monkeys and whatever in terms of like evolution and shit. But I think the way that they like their brains work and the way they feel is like the closest to humans. And I'm just like, fuck, man, we're really and then it makes you feel like shit. You're like, I love fucking bacon though, so I can't. And we're just slaughtering these motherfuckers.
I had bacon, egg, and cheese this morning, right before we started.
BEC, baby, let's rock and roll. But I like, I'm really torn because I actually, a lot of people walked away from this movie and they loved Harbor. They loved Yelena. I actually thought Melina was a really cool character, and the actress I thought was awesome. So I really wish we got more.
Rachel Weisz, yeah, she was very good.
I like how she could be so cold. You also had like a little bit of that maternal stuff that obviously you get later in the movie. And I just like both sides of her. It's like her family versus her country and all that kind of stuff. I did feel like during that jailbreak scene, that avalanche thing was cool as fuck, right? But I even then I felt like maybe if it was a movie with a bigger budget or a bigger superhero, it might have been like, they might have really done something a lot cooler. Cause like when she like saves him and they go out of the snow and they just like see that they're still like attached to the helicopter. I was like, that could have just been so much cooler if you had like a first person view or something just a little different there.
You're Yelena right now. You wanted one of the big ones.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that it was tough. I'm like, there's 1,000 prison guards shooting at one helicopter and it's just doing nothing to it. And this was another stormtroopery thing where I'm like, I can suspend disbelief. I'm in a fucking Marvel movie, but give me like 3 guards shooting at it, not like the entire jail just shooting at, and she's just like dodging bullets whizzing by her head. I'm like, come on. But again, like she's also shooting a bazooka at a tower and it's like, it's absolutely preposterous all in all. And then like what happens
there was some action scenes in this that were so over the top, especially when it's like, they're way more excusable when it's a magic superhero or someone with powers. Like when it is a grounded action movie like this, you are like, oh, geez.
Yeah. And there was a few times where I was like, how is Red Guardian not getting caught? He's just sitting there. There's 1,000 people around him. He's just doing nothing. I'm like, what's going on? So that like, even those kind of things that are separate than the action sequence I didn't dig, and some of the plot holes I thought evolved on the way. I'm just like, this is really hard to ignore all this stuff coming down on me. But like you said, but she did have little things like this would be a cool way to die, and the whole theater I
liked that whole thing. Yeah, she got a lot of laughs in the press screening for that, which is even like the almost the snobby people like, oh, it's a new Marvel movie, and they were even laughing at that. It could have been made better. Now that I'm just thinking about this in my head, I think if maybe they were freeing Black Widows along the way that were like joining the team and helping them, and they were like almost assembling a squad of widows by the end of it, that could have been cool. When they get to Yelena's mom's house, or Natasha and Yelena's mom's house, Yelena's like, listen, I know we weren't a real family, but don't say that. She starts crying, really emotional scene between the family, because I think the mom actually says at one point, she's like, we weren't real family, stop it. Fucked up. Drykoff is still the mom's boss, so she sends their location to Drykoff. Extremely fucked up from the mom. And she breaks this news to Natasha while David Harbour is in the bedroom with Yelena. They're doing the American Pie thing once again. And he has put on his Red Guardian suit at this point. He's like, almost looks like a Homer Simpson. Like if he put on the Captain America suit, like he's kind of spilling out of it, but he's like, still fits. I love it. And then we get this huge, like almost Mark Wahlberg shooter-esque scene of all of the widows coming in and for Natasha and the whole family, and they successfully capture them.
Yeah, I almost felt like when he's in there with Yelena and they're doing the Miss American Pie thing and how he fucked up, I felt like I was watching Hopper talk to 11. That's exactly. I was like, oh, we're getting a little bit of Stranger Things now. And I don't know, I just felt, I love the whole, like, dynamic, the family dynamic. I thought I was going to get a lot more of it in the movie just based on the trailer.
Yeah, it was a really good scene at the table, but it was really the only one with the whole family together.
Yeah, the book where they pose for like Christmas and they were opening the empty boxes and stuff like that. Like that shit I thought was cool, and that was the stuff I thought they could have really grew on. And then what is it like? They're flying up to the Red Room, and then like Hopper wakes up, and then he gets like a shot in the neck again. I'm like, that just seemed there was like certain things where I'm just like, this just seemed redundant or unnecessary. There was a few moments like that along the way, and some things might have paid off down the road that I was just confused about. But I was just that one I remember in particular as like a weird spot that I just didn't.
I think they were just trying to show us at that point, just like him waking up. Oh, we see that the Red Room is in the sky, and then they're like, "Fuck you, boom."
Red Room is a cool ass name. I will say that it's a cool name if you're like a bar in Russia, you're a fucking evil like sky base. Sky base is. I did see someone say too that this mirrored one of the maybe Goldfinger. I don't know. It was one of the old Bonds where there was like a sky base and there was a couple different references to it along the way.
You know what I would wear if I ever went to a Red Room-esque sky base is my Cuts clothing, because I wear my Cuts clothing everywhere, including to UFC press conferences. At the UFC 264 press conference, where I went up there and asked Conor McGregor a question that people hated. Everyone was like, Bob, that was the worst question you've ever asked. I was wearing Cuts clothing on my little green Cuts clothing shirt because it's the nicest thing that I own pretty much. I put my flannel over it and I'm basically like dressed up for work. You could wear the Cuts to work, to the gym, at home, anywhere, on a date, to a dinner, to a fight,
to a movie,
a press conference, to a movie. Cuts clothing is some of my favorite stuff in the world. It was founded by Steve Borelli. We say all the time on this podcast, we support all Borellis, Mr. Borelli, Frankie Borelli, Steve Borelli. And he founded Cuts Clothing to create clothes that are ready for every occasion the modern man faces. He started by reinventing the t-shirt. Now he's got what GQ calls the only shirt worth wearing. And I agree. That's why I wore it to the UFC press conference. If you go to cutsclothing.com/basement right now, you'll get 15% off the only shirt worth wearing. And it's office leisure apparel for the sport of business. I love that.
That's a line. That's a line.
Now listen, I'm never going to the Red Room. I said if I ever go to the Red Room, I'll wear my Cuts clothing. I'm never going there because they took it down. But they go up there. They use the Mission Impossible face mask technology to like do a swap where Natasha is actually in Drykoff's office. He kind of sniffs through it, and the mom is in the jail cell, and then they do the swap, and it's a whole thing, and they go through it. At first, they were blowing my mind with it because I didn't know we had that full universe. I was just like, what the fuck is happening? That is when the 3Chi would really like make this movie better, I bet. If you were like on 3Chi watching it for the first time and that twist hits, you're like, oh, fuck, okay, here we go.
That's the Will Ferrell from Old School. Wait. That's where the dart hits you in the neck. You don't know what the fuck's going on. That was, I think, one of my favorite parts of the movie. It was probably top 3 was the whole twist, the reveal, and then as they're going through everything, you then kind of get to see the background of how they're setting it all up, that the earpiece and the cracking the, what was the line she said? She had
the naval cavity.
Yeah. So there was like, as they walk through all that, I thought that was very cool. And I'm like, that more of that kind of storytelling need to be done in the movie. So that was, it is, Did they have that technology? They had it in Falcon Winter Soldier, right? And then was it a Captain America movie where is it Sharon? Who
Winter Soldier maybe, and Sharon takes the face off.
Yeah. So I like that they brought that back. That again, you can just do whatever the fuck you want, and as long as you have that technology being in the world, it's going to blow my fucking mind every time. And I'll go into the movie and be like, all right, if they do that face trick, just have like
I'll never expect it.
I'll never expect it.
Every time I'll forget that it exists. Every single time. You could do it with anyone. Scrolls as well. Someone turns into a scroll. I'm like, oh, forgot they existed. Fuck.
You know what? I'm putting it out there right now to future Clem and future Robbie. Listen. They're going to do, not only are they going to do the mask trick, they're then going to do it with a scroll. And it's going to be a scroll. Wait, no, mask.
Wearing a mask.
Double fucking morphing face. And it's going to, and then the person, that's how we're going to meet Mephisto. That's how we're going to meet. It's like, I was Mephisto the whole time. It's like,
and it's like Vince McMahon. He, pulls the final mask off and it's just like the devil. Yeah. At this point, Natasha learns that the Taskmaster is Antonina. I think that's what her name was, right? Antonina. And
we're gonna roll with that. I don't think so. I thought it was Antonia, but Antonina sounds a little better.
Antonia is written there.
No. It's Antonina. It's Antonina. The rest of the pod.
She meets Antonina, who suffered damage so severe that Drykoff had a chip put in her head, turning her into the perfect soldier, capable of mimicking the actions of anyone she sees, including several Avengers. This was crazy for me because when they took the mask off, I recognized the actress, and it was that Olga Kunitskaya or something like that. And I was like, oh shit, how did this person like low key get cast in this movie and was in it for the past year while it was on the shelf without at least that leaking? Like, I kind of assumed, I actually thought at midpoint in the movie that Taskmaster was going to be her mom. Did you think that at any point? I was thinking that.
Call me. I mean, I work for Barstool, so I must have be a misogynist. I thought it was going to be a guy because I just knew Taskmaster was a guy, so I was so confused the whole time. They were
so like heavy-handed with the him that I was like, I bet it's a girl.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't even know this Olga girl either, so I'm not sure. Let's see, what is she from? Oh, okay, so she's a Bond girl. She was in Bond.
Yeah.
Oblivion, don't know that. So this was another part where as they're zooming in on the girl whose face got completely just destroyed, and I'm just looking at my 6-year-old being like, are you going to have nightmares about this tonight? Because they lingered on it for a while, which again, it's to really like set the, her reaction to the girl that almost murdered her and the reaction to seeing the girl she almost murdered. That one was a tough one as a dad. Everything was all right. She didn't get scared at all, but that was just another one I wish I had gotten a heads up about, Bob. So we're gonna go to someone else next time. We're saying if it's approved for a 6.5-year-old.
I was just like, she saw Endgame. If she saw Endgame, she could see this. Tony Stark was all fried up at the end of that movie. That was worse than this.
Why do you gotta bring that up? You know I don't like talking about it. Why don't you just bring up the cheeseburgers while we're at it too, Bob? Jeez, I'm gonna cry now.
That was really rough.
When Thanos' head got cut off, I was like, oh shit! Like I should have definitely warned her for that one.
Blood spewing out of the neck, and you're coming at me over a little scar on her face. Come on, Clem. Natasha tries to kill Drykoff, but she can't hit him. It's like, whoop. And why not? Because she can smell him with her, like, what do they call it? The pheromones? The pheromone lock. She fails to harm him due to that, and he has it installed in every widow with this like little pinky ring that he's got, like a true fucking gangster. And he reveals that he controls widows worldwide from his desk in the sky here. Natasha's like, oh yeah, thanks for the help, by the way. He's like, what? She's like, when you were beating the shit out of me before. Yeah, I knew about the naval thing. Boom! And she fucking slams her head on the ground. She breaks her own nose. Everyone in the theater, I could feel them go, ugh, like when she did that. Like, everyone looked at each other like, Jesus Christ, Natasha, you're a savage. And it was a savage move, but it was what needed to be done. So then she attacks Drykoff. Bunch of people come in. The Black Widows come in, try to attack her. At the same time, Red Guardian fights the Taskmaster. He finally gets a shield. He gets the Taskmaster shield. He fucking is able to use that. I think it's Yelena is trying to take out one of the engines, or is it the mom is trying to take out the engines? Oh no, Yelena is going for the widows, and the mom is taking out the engines.
Well, Yelena has like the antidote or whatever. She's trying to do that. The mom is like, I built this entire ship. And then she's like, but she's going through back alleys and knowing that there's cameras that like there again, there was just some,
she's like Galen Erso from Rogue One. She's like, yeah, like I designed the Death Star, motherfuckers. And they lock Antonia in a cell at this point. They're like, boom, they trick her into getting into the cell. Boom, lock the door. Drykoff escapes as the widows attack Natasha. And Yelena like throws a fucking antidote bomb at them. It explodes in the air. They're all good, and then they go after Drykoff together. The whole system is going down. Romanov goes into the control desk. She turns off all of the widows' mind control worldwide, and then or does she do that? Or no, she gets the location of all the widows worldwide because at the end she gives her the antidote. She's like, go fucking do this. And Romanoff tries to free Taskmaster from the lock cell. She does free her. She's like, I'm not going to let you die like I thought I let you die in Budapest. It all goes back to Budapest. Her parents escape via a plane as Yelena takes out Drykoff's helicopter. She kills him. She's definitely dead, I would say, at this point. I mean, that thing fucking blows up into smithereens, into ashes. And Romanoff gives Yelena a parachute. She throws her off, and then she battles Taskmaster in free fall. At this point, this is like, it reminded me of Black Panther when the CGI gets a little over the top at the end. And you're like, all right, yeah, we've seen enough. It's a good movie. Wrap it up.
I was like, how many fucking like boss battles you're gonna have, but there's also like no good boss battles, but there's 100 of them. So I was in the same. Okay, I'm happy we agree on that one because I was like, all right,
it was a bit ridiculous at that point. I like. If you're gonna do a grounded movie like this, like keep the ending grounded. You don't got to go crazy with the CGI.
Yeah, exactly. I flat out wouldn't have rescued Taskmaster. I'm like, first
me neither.
Terrifying looking, right? I'm a coward. I would never make it as a widow. Even if they had male widows, I would never make it. And again,
I'd be too afraid about the chip, like her turning on me at some point, her getting turned, reactivated again. I almost said turned on. It would have came out weird.
Drykoff, the stuff with the room with the pinky finger and all that stuff. She does, I guess, like steal the ring from him.
Yeah,
which she doesn't
grabs
know.
it during the fight.
That was pretty sweet.
Almost Iron Man Thanos-esque, where he like takes the fucking stones.
I just loved that she was talking shit to him. Like, I was trying to get you to break my nose and you're such a pussy. You couldn't do it. Like, I dug that side of it with Black Widow. The pheromone thing I thought was cool too. I always said, like, could you imagine if like guys could tell when girls are in heat or vice versa? Like, just and this, I think I said it in college because it'd be like the dance floors would just be a fucking zoo. Like, there might be some sort of way where you could be, you could find, and there's like all these crazy, weird, animalistic things that I don't even know how humans work, but there is one of those. I was like, I dug that, like that whole chemistry side of things, that he had that as his like key to like for them to unlock. And then the way she, like you said, she just breaks her nose, and then she puts it back in too.
Yeah, she like snaps it.
Like, that's the thing. Like, I thought Black Widow could be such a cool fucking character by just being a badass like that, right? And I think they lost that side of it throughout the movie. And then, like you said, the base explodes. The Melina being like, I'm just gonna like blow this fucking thing up and it's gonna crash. I was like, okay, cool. Like, what was that? I understand. Like, I've seen this whole I'm gonna go turn off the shield to the Death Star a million times, and I've never seen them just be like, fuck it, I'm just gonna blow the Death Star up from inside. It just felt like a lot. Plus, I'm getting Sokovia vibes by shit flying up in the air in Eastern Europe.
It was a lot going on at once too. It was like I would have preferred if maybe the family work together at the end as a team and fought, but it was like we have Red Guardian here, we have Yelena here, we have Melina here, we have Natasha here. It was like the end of the Phantom Menace when they keep cutting back and forth to like boom 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 boom. It's like oh my god, it's just sensory overload. So I do agree, I would have loved to see just for once the whole family to act as a team. That I thought that's what the movie was leading to from the trailers, at least.
Yeah, and like you said, we're not dealing with, Thor's becoming a god and you have all this, like these crazy superheroes. have like just these are like assassins, and I guess Red Guardian has like the super serum or whatever. But other than that, like they're just regular people. So it seemed like just a lot. I don't even know. I'm not even sure how they like land. Like I don't know how Black Widow landed with. Did she have a parachute? I'm like, whatever. They're just gonna land.
I don't even remember how she landed. It's bad that I'm saying this and we do the podcast on it, but I don't. I thought about that. I was like, how the fuck did she land? It says on Wikipedia, after landing, Romanoff uses the antidote on Taskmaster, freeing her from servitude. That is what in fact happens. I don't remember how she lands on the ground.
And you know what? That's not on us. So like, we shouldn't have to rewatch the movie. You should remember like the big part, the crescendo of the entire movie, reaching this point, and then boom. And it was just a lot. I felt like I was like, just wrap this shit up. Like you said, give me my post-credit scene. I know that's my little gift at the end of this trip. That's all I know. That's going to be what we're going to end up talking about down the road. And
which is one of the best parts of this movie, in my personal opinion. The post-credit scene, I loved.
That was, I think, I think if you go to, I think it's what's called After Credits is the app, and it'll just tell you if there's a post-credit scene or not, and then the approval rating, if it's like, if people liked it or not, or if it's worth, I guess, sticking around. And I think it was like 99%. We're like, yeah, stick around. I was like, this is going to be a good one. I just checked to see if it was going to be mid credits and post credits, and it was just obviously post credits. I did think it was cool when she hits the antidote down, and then she's like, "I'm so sorry," and she's like, "Is he gone?" I was like, that was like deep. That one hit, and she didn't even want to kill the person who basically blew her up or even like attack her. But it just, at that point, I was just so fatigued. It was explosion fatigue. It was boss battle fatigue. It was everything. And she didn't even confirm the kill on Drykoff. And I think he's dead because his fucking glasses blew out of the helicopter.
We saw that guy blow up like he was in the intro of Terminator 2. Like he burned to a crisp. There are three really random things just from throughout the movie that I wanted to bring up. The posing running joke that Yelena had where she posed and was disgusted by it. Very funny. I love that we went back to the Civil War style title cards every time they went to a new location. Awesome. Like, especially when it said Red Room at the end, that felt like an oh fuck moment. And in the beginning, one of my favorite like early oh fuck moments is when you get to see Hopper use his like strength for the first time. I think he like throws a boat or a truck or something to get something out of the way of the plane, but like you don't know he has the super strength before then. I mean, from the trailers you do, but in the context of the movie you don't. And that was such a cool like reveal the way it was shot.
I did the Darth Vader, the double look. I was like, wait, what? Like that was something really big there. Like it was a boat or a vehicle or something like that. And I was like, that he definitely has something extra in him right now. So I'm with you on all three of those. They said, like, I guess the one way they're like, we could do two things with this movie with Black Widow. We can either we sprinkle in, it's going to be a lot of money to get like, Mark Ruffalo in and have the Hulk appear, have Hawkeye appear, or we just say the word Avengers 1,000 times. And they just chose B. They chose B. Hey, that's a financial decision, and this is before Corona fucked all up everyone's bottom line. So it probably was a good one at the time, but it was just one of those things where it's like, Avengers, you're an Avenger, the Avengers, your friends, your family, this and that. So I did think that was kind of, but it's also very like if you were friends with an Avenger, that would always be what people talk.
I mean, like family parties, like people are going to bring up Barstool all the time with us. Like if you go to a part like a Christmas party or whatever. Oh, how's Barstool? Like how's your friend Dave? Like Barstool, he's eating that pizza still.
That's how I know we've made it as a company is every time I'm with my family or even like my in-laws or whatever, the amount of times Barstool and mainly Dave get mentioned, it's like, I saw your boss on TV last night. I'm like, oh God, what do you say?
Yeah.
Like
did you? You're like trying to get a read on whether it's a good or bad. I saw your boss on TV.
My mom said the other day, goes, he's so much different than you are. I'm like, we're different, but he's a nice guy. He's a nice guy. It's like Dave's bombastic. I guess that's the word I could use to describe him. Right. Yeah. But it's the same kind of thing. Like, and I'm by no means comparing Barstool to the Avengers, other than we're a bunch of fucking lunatics. But it is one of those things that they just kept hammering home. This isn't the thing is, Avengers, like, again, this is a time where they're broken up. They're all over the place. So I guess there's a reason why you wouldn't have anyone come back. I do think if they had an Avenger come back, it would have been good for the movie. But also, our boy Scott Lang taking another L. He's like, we got Captain America. We got the shrinking convict.
Incredible little shrinking convict.
We don't even know the exact line here. I mean, the guy's just tough breaks for him. But I guarantee.
I like seeing Ross, by the way, knowing that he's probably going to turn into the Red Hulk at some point.
Yeah.
or do the Thunderbolts thing or whatever he does. Like, I liked bringing him back for that. I like just knowing that they're setting certain things up. They set up Yelena for the future. They set up Red Guardian for the future. I'm stunned that her whole family left this movie alive, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought like someone was going out with her, but no. And then we see all of the freed widows arrive as the family says goodbye to Natasha. She then gives Yelena the last antidote vial. She's like, go free the whole world. And as they leave, she awaits Ross and her men who have arrived to apprehend her. Then we see, wait, she awaits them?
Yes, Rob. Don't worry. Wikipedia is right. She awaits them, and then it just says 2 weeks later. We don't know what the fuck happened. So they gave us that extra 20-minute falling scene, and then they just never fucking explain it. Like, don't worry about it. It's like,
now that I think about it, she did just stand there for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess we're to assume she just escaped.
She did a cool ass pose, right? But she's
Cool
in the
pose,
middle
yeah.
of a fucking of rubble with no way to escape. As 1,000, it's always when the SUVs all follow each other like ducks too,
Yep.
and they're just going and making the turns. And I'm just like, wait, and I'm like, what just happened? And I thought, and again, my brain stinks, so I'm like, oh, I probably just missed something. Like we didn't realize that Sylvie had the little transponder thing, right? So I was like, oh, just my brain sucking in. And then everyone's like, what the fuck happened in that 2 weeks? And I'm like, well, you can't bring that back now. We just paid to see the Black Widow movie. There's no Disney unless
Disney
it's
Plus series in that 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Oh God, I swear to God, if you fucking, I'll take it. I'm not going to complain. But I mean, come on,
do recaps
guys.
about it every week.
Yeah, exactly. Do you think we're going to get Natasha's mom? Do you think we'll ever find out who Natasha's mom is?
No, I'll say no.
I think we are. I think we're going to find out. I think it's going to be a big reveal. I don't know who it's going to be, but I just feel like they talked about her way too much. I'm also, as I'm saying this, I'm like, this movie didn't also tell me how she escaped from the entire government or SHIELD trying to come down on her ass. So, not SHIELD. That's the Sokovia, the people who were basically pissed at them for the
government. Yeah.
Yeah, the government. So the fact they didn't even do that. But again, the blonde hair, the Avengers theme.
The Avengers theme with the Quinjet, that slapped. That was we've talked about it being like a dog whistle, it gives you a visceral reaction. At the end of the movie, that's all right, we're back, Avengers theme. She's going off to fight the Infinity War, amazing. And then in the post-credit scene, which we've referenced, we get to see the return of Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. She comes and sees
Elaine. We call her Elaine.
Elaine. She comes and sees Yelena, who is at Natasha's grave. She's doing the whistle, very heartfelt, says Avenger, sister, daughter at her grave or whatever. And she says, I would like to give you your next assignment. How would you like to kill the man responsible for your sister's death? Gives her a fucking iPad, and it's Clint Barton, Hawkeye. Now we can assume in the Hawkeye television show that it's at least going to start with Yelena coming after him, and then you would assume they talk it out, realize there's one bigger bad guy, and then they team up against him maybe. That sounds like a dope setup for a show. And at the same time, I saw Kevin Feige confirm that the thing that was fucked up about the whole COVID delays, whatever, was the fact that this was supposed to be Julia Louis-Dreyfus's debut, and her second appearance would be in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Maybe this is just hindsight being 2020. I feel like it's better the other way around. I felt like this was a more satisfying return than it would have been debut.
Yeah, and I think Falcon and the Winter Soldier needed that little juice at the end, right? I think it needed that bump.
Yep.
Compared to this, which was a movie, and I think everyone was going to go no matter what. And I think Yelena is John Walker stinks. I don't know if it's the actor. I just do not care about that character at all. So if there's a Thunderbolts, if there's this Dark Avengers, no matter what it may be, that guy has to be the Hawkeye of the group, because I just do not care about him. And if he does anything,
I feel he was pretty fucking hateable by the end of that show. I hated John Walker by the end of that show. So he got me to care that much.
That's a fair point. And then I'm also am I really like if they're fighting? And thing is, like, Clint obviously did nothing wrong to Natasha, but I'm like, if she kills him, am I really gonna feel bad? I'm like, no, but he has a family, and there's some moments where he actually kind of like I grew to like him more in Endgame. Obviously, I grew to like Natasha more in Endgame, and I was like, but if he dies, he dies, whatever.
What Drago on him?
Yeah, when Drago on his ass, I became Kambuka girl. It's like, no, you can't kill Hawkeye. But you can't.
But in my mind, I was thinking like at least in this we have a direct setup. Like Julia Louis-Dreyfus gave a mission. Like, all right,
yes.
go, Hawkeye, go get him. In Falcon and Winter Soldier, we never got that. She was like, hey, let's stay in touch. Here's a costume for U.S. Agent, but she wasn't like, here's what I want you to go do. So it was like that's why it felt more fitting, because we're, especially now that we're going to get Hawkeye in the fall, like it's a perfect set for that TV show. And I'm now very interested in Hawkeye, which was a show I not that I wasn't going to watch it before, but I just didn't have any over the top excitement about it.
Yeah, this definitely added some much needed juice to Hawkeye. I'll co-sign on that, because we're looking at like the future of the MCU coming up here, and there's this next little stretch is gonna be a little tricky with Shang-Chi and Hawkeye. What if I'm stoked about you again? That trailer came out, that looked awesome. I mean, that's basically my review of the trailer. Looks awesome, can't wait. But I think the couple pieces in between that and Eternals, it's like I don't really know. Those could go either way. Trust the Feige. We always trust the Feige.
Always.
But the Hawkeye stuff, this definitely added a little bit of juice, because she kind of stole the show in this movie, right?
Yeah, I would say absolutely. And with Red Guardian, and I hope we see him in that fictional Captain America movie that I've made up at this point, Captain America 4. I'm just like holding out hope for one more. I'm like a wrestling fan chanting at my favorite wrestler right now. One more match, one more match, one more match.
Hey, Waldron, I know you're listening. Write that goddamn script right now. You don't even have to give it to anyone. Just write it, give it to Robbie, and we'll read it on the air.
Let me read it. Yeah. Let's get into questions. Our first one is from our guy, Jake Bass. He said, did I hear Drykoff say that there were other people, 10 or 50, who would want the power of his soldiers? I feel like while we've got this space war going on, Shang-Chi, Hawkeye, and the Dark Avengers / Thunderbolts will keep a super interesting storyline going on Earth that isn't as sci-fi. I completely agree, and I think that all ties back to Sharon Carter, the power broker. I think Armor Wars possibly, and like, where is Tony Stark's technology going to go? Are there going to be governments that try to implement that into armies, try to make that into, hey, an army of what were the Iron Legion, basically, like the safety robots that he made that, could have gone bad under Ultron. So I think that's all tied in.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a lot of shit like that. And I do think that's good too, because the space stuff's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot more, the Guardians kind of made a light work of it, and it made sense. And even Thanos, I was concerned about, because he in the books is just so much to take in. And I do think like the Eternals, right? That's a lot to take in, and you get all that. And if that's going to be the I'm going to use a little fancy term. That's the Pacific theater of that. That's going to be one side of the war, and then we're going to have the war on Earth, which might be maybe the more traditional, like in Europe during World War II. So I kind of now that he said that was Jake said that, right? I think that's going to be a good way to put it. And I feel there's going to be a lot of trips to Europe. I feel like that's a very European series.
Yeah. Martin Banks wrote in and said, they have to be doing more with Taskmaster, right? This can't be it. I would say absolutely. The fact that they kept her alive at the end of the movie made her into a good person. I don't know if, what they did with her like suit, I don't think is what the original character is. Like, I don't think the fact that the character wears the suit like allows Taskmaster to replicate in the comics. So I think maybe the fact that they made that a thing in the universe means maybe the suit could fall into the wrong hands and you could get something more like the original Taskmaster. I don't know.
Okay, I can see that. They're going to have to fix the Taskmaster. I think they know that. I think if they, Feige, when Feige sees the movie, or when he saw the movie, he was like, all right, we're going to have to, dust this off. But again, hashtag trust the Feige. And I'm not even that upset if we don't see Taskmaster again. Like, just because if they don't think they can fix it for right now, and they have plenty of other villains to go with, just go with the other villains, because they're going to have that bad taste in our mouth with the Taskmaster, I think, for a little bit.
True. And that's it for our questions. We've gone longer than I thought we were going to do.
Yeah,
Before
me
we
too.
did this is a typical My Mom's Basement thing where I'm like, I figure for Black Widow, we probably won't even go as long as we do for our Loki recaps. And then we went longer, as always.
Hopefully, it didn't feel like the last 20 minutes was just us falling through the air and can't remember how it all ended. So hopefully we did all right there.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe and like down there. Comment. What should they comment? What should the final, if you've made it to the end of the episode this week, be?
I don't know, Bob. I don't know.
Right?
Oh, give me the MVP. Give me the MVP of Black Widow. Give me the MVP of the movie.
One. That's a good one. Was it Yelena? Was it Red Guardian for you? Was it Clem said he loved the mother? Bonk. Was it her?
Yeah.
Put the MVP of Black Widow down in the comments. And stay tuned. Later this week, we will be back with the Clancy variants to recap the finale of Loki. And we are looking forward to it a ton. If they stick this one, oh my God, what a show it's been.
I already got notes for Loki. This is just pre-watching notes. That's how you know fucking something big could be coming up here. We got pre-viewing notes.
I love it.